It's been a while since we've had our very own Cornwall LGBTQ plus history curators with us. Sophie Meyer, as joining as part of Queer Kernow, joins us now. Hello.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Sophie. This is Pudge as well, so we've got
Hi there,
Pudge
nice to meet you.
and myself here today.
Hi.
And we're out in the garden, proper Cornish beautiful weather, as it should be.
It looks lush out there.
Since we last caught up, what would be great is just kind of let us know what's been going on with Queer Kernow.
Yeah, so Queer Kernow, for those who aren't aware, is an LGBTQ plus history project, which is looking into Cornish stories of queerness and history. And we celebrate and promote and really kind of share these wonderful people's stories and kind of just show that, you know, queer people have been in Cornwall since the 1st century BC. You know, we're here, we're queer, and we always have been.
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's one person that always comes to mind, maybe not from Cornwall, but Alan Turing.
Yeah.
Who we went through hell while he was with us, bless him. And it's nice to see that. I think he's now on the £50 note, is it?
Yeah.
So it's lovely to see someone like that now being recognised for his achievements, regardless of anything, because obviously people's eyes are opening, people's views are changing, and everyone's being more open. But as far as that goes, that's all I know on that kind of history. So what would you say the history here of Pride is in the UK?
Well, the history of Pride in the UK is really interesting, actually, and it kind of started in around 1958 when the Homosexual Law Reform Society was launched in the UK. And you know that this predates Stonewall. It's 1958. It predates even decriminalisation, and it was a really fantastic kind of activist group that was put together to repeal the laws in the UK, and you know, I think it's wonderful that we have this rich history, not just in New York and in Stonewall, but also here in the UK.
And how did the Pride movement evolve within the UK?
So it was started by the Gay Liberation Front in the 1970s. The first Pride was in 1972 in London, and from that they published this manifesto. And you have to remember in that very first Pride, it was such a protest march. I know today we can get kind of taken away by the joy of it, because you know, we're at that place, which is great, where we don't have much resistance to prides. But in the 1970 Pride, it was, oh my goodness, such a bold move. And their manifesto that they published was really, you know, hard-hitting social reform. It wasn't about let's overturn this law. It was no, we demand equal rights, and we demand that you take us seriously as human beings. And I think it all kind of stems from their anger and their kind of you know, they didn't wait to be gifted rights. They really did protest and fight for it. And I think that's the legacy of Pride, isn't it? It's reminding ourselves where we've been and also where we are and where we're going.
Well, I mean, when there's such a passion and such obviously a need for something like that as well, I mean, that's the way you've got to do it. You can't just squibble about it. If that is what's necessary, you've got to get up and do that. So there has been a Pride, obviously, in Cornwall for 50 years now, but I believe the very first one was only on a beach in 2016, as recent as that. So why do you think it took so long for Cornwall to celebrate and highlight the LGBTQ plus community?
I think in Cornwall, because it's so rural, that kind of played against us in really unifying. So there are lots of examples in the early 90s of there being kind of lesbian prides happening on a private farm, and it was all word of mouth to who got to come. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, and they were really kind of isolated and rural almost. And I think that's the nature of Cornwall, in that, you know, getting around is quite hard, and we still see that, which I think is why Cornwall Pride is amazing in doing the bus tour. And I think that's the most wonderful kind of response to that kind of hard rurality of Cornwall. But But I think early on in the 90s and sometimes even in the early 80s, you had these kind of pockets of pride that was very much who you know, and it wasn't outwardly advertised, and it took a while, I think, for people to come together. And I think it's a fantastic job that Cornwall Pride do, that we can move forward in Cornwall as a collective, not just as our tiny little pockets, which is historically what was there.
I think from kind of delving into your knowledge and your extensive knowledge of history as LGBTQ plus curators, what would you say is the current milestones for us to recognise pride in the LGBTQ plus community here in Cornwall?
I mean, I think Cornwall really got put on the map for LGBTQ rights with the 1996 case, which was P versus S and Cornwall Council. And that was an incredible thing that I think we really should be proud of down here, that the very first trans discrimination case in the workplace was legislated down here. So basically the result of that case said that you can't discriminate against trans people in the workplace. And that landmark case happened in Cornwall. And I think that we really need to, be proud of the fact that that originated here. It's the first one in Europe to really say that, no, you can't discriminate based on gender identity. And, as you were saying just now, Matt, the fact that the blood donation rules have only just changed, there's so much that's still ongoing, but also looking at the kind of, we need to take the wins. And I think there's some really wonderful moments, especially down here in Cornwall, that we can be proud of.
Oh, actually, you were talking about the rural communities, and it's fantastic that Cornwall Pride has kind of gone out with its bus tour and delivers a support network for the LGBTQ plus community. Actually, it's also now interesting that the rural communities and different towns can take ownership as well. So there are prides happening over in Bodmin and Bude and Penzance. So how can we all kind of start celebrating and kind of bring those back together as well?
So I think that the bus tour is a really good way of creating those tangible links between different rural pockets. And I think the fact that you're getting these small rural prides is really great and offers that really kind of localized support that you might not feel. For example, if, Pride isn't new to you, but you live in, St. Buryan, for example, it does feel quite a distance. So having something in Penzance is really quite heartening for those living quite rurally.
And kind of the Gilbert Baker flag, where it all started with the Pride flag, and there are many versions and have been many versions. Where's your take on the delivery of different flags and its, I suppose, its celebration of different identities?
Yeah, I think if you look historically at the origin of the Pride flag, it was only created in 1978. And before then, you had the pink triangle. And the pink triangle was something that originated from actually the Holocaust, when gay men were put into concentration camps and marked with a pink triangle. So I think that pink triangle was then adopted in the AIDS crisis with ACT UP, the activist group. And then obviously in 1978, it was the rainbow flag was getting big. And I think the point I'm trying to make is that our kind of identifiers, our rainbow flags, our pink triangles, they're forever evolving. It's never been one thing throughout history. And I think whatever the flag is of the time reflects the social issues of the time. So I think that the progress flag, with it highlighting the brown and black and highlighting the trans flag, just kind of shows that, we need a bit of those communities within the LGBTQ plus community need a bit of extra support. So I think it's fantastic that these flags and these identifiers just evolve and grow as society does.
So actually thinking about society and thinking about the changes and the laws that have happened, what do you think are the next steps for support Cornwall Pride can give and the support that the LGBTQ plus community here in Cornwall need?
I think a big thing for me is that LGBT history still isn't taught in schools. Obviously, it's a hangover from Section 28 when it was actually banned from being taught in schools, but it is not yet on the curriculum. And I think that's really important and is something that we should be championing for. I think that, that there's a lot of smaller things well, not smaller, but just less ubiquitous, I guess. So the Turing law, which overturned or supposedly overturned the gay men, about 15,000 gay men in the UK who still have charges on their criminal records. Fewer than 200 have actually been pardoned because of the kind of bureaucracy and the paperwork. Conversion therapy is still legal. There are so many, things that we still haven't got equality yet. And I think
hang on. So just to quantify that. So when we're talking about Pride, we get like a massive backlash at this time of the year, and even when we, for example, Cornwall Pride puts on Cornwall Pride, the biggest commentary that comes out is, why isn't there a straight Pride? What's your response?
My response would, be to list these things that, 15,000 gay men in the UK still have a charge on their criminal record that hasn't been overturned. Conversion therapy is still legal. Trans prisoners do not get put in the wrong prisons that don't reflect their gender identity. LGBT history isn't taught in school. 1 in 5 LGBTQ people in the UK have experienced a hate crime, and 4 out of 5 of those don't report it. And these stats are from the Stonewall website, so they're pretty legit. And I just think, it's there's so much left to fight for.
And then obviously that's only then touching on the support around mental well-being for the entire LGBTQ plus community, and kind of touching on transgender people that actually at least half of them have looked at taking their own life. So it's just astonishing that we're still having these type of conversations, yet people say, oh, do you know what, it's legal 50 years ago.
I think that just shows a massive just a huge gap in their learning. And I think that's why, as a curator of LGBTQ plus history, I try and show that queer people have been around for centuries, since there were queer people have existed. So I think this idea that it's been 50 years, but that's such a tiny, minuscule, kind of bit of history in the LGBTQ narrative of history, that actually that's no time at all. And there's still so many things where that aren't equal. Just so many. And you touched on trans mental health. Well, until 1992, the World Health Organization still had same-sex attraction in a list of mental disorders. So no wonder that people, 1992, that's really no time at all. So no wonder that people have grown up with that kind of idea that it was a mental illness. It just gets perpetuated. And this is why Pride and being visual and having these kind of open areas of support is so important.
And it's just that awareness piece, isn't it? And just being... I've repeated this. It's on my little t-shirt here. Love who you want to love and be who you want to be. It's just about that ability. Sophie, thank you so much for joining us. And it's incredible, actually, that in Cornwall we're now seeing such an incredible amount of different pockets of support for the LGBTQ plus community and understanding the Pride movement. It's great. Absolutely incredible to have Queer Kernow as part of this collective mix to be able to celebrate and support. Now, we had this video last week. However, we have to show it again because there's a particular star of the video that will be joining us right after it. So here's a recap of Cornwall Pride 2018. It's 2021. So it's no longer 2019, and that was promoted in 2019. And obviously 2020 we kind of skipped over as we did. But always, the camera crew of Cornwall Pride tends to capture a particular person and always ends up being the star of our PT because they are brilliant. And the amount of support that Cornwall Fire and Rescue give Cornwall Pride over the years has been unequivocal, and the fabulous Kathryn Billing, Chief Fire Officer, Service Director of Cornwall Fire Rescue, joins us today. Hey Kathryn, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello.
Hello. Oh no, it's absolute pleasure. Lovely. Goodness me, you're looking good, bright and sunny out there in our sunshine today.
It's stunning
Beautiful
out here. It's
out
absolutely
here.
Stunning. First of all, would you mind doing a little bit of an introduction of yourself for people that haven't met you or know you, and also why Pride's important to you?
No, absolutely. So yeah, Kathryn Billing, the new Chief Fire Officer of Cornwall Fire and Rescue Service, an exceptionally proud Cornish maid, as my dad would say, born and bred in Cornwall, and been a Pride supporter for a number of years, watched it really grow. Why is Pride important to me? It's just an incredible opportunity to celebrate diversity, to really, get out there, show your true colours, should we say, and feel safe and feel able to express who we are in a really nice festival environment, which I think Cornwall's created, but not forgetting that there is still a lot of education, a lot of understanding, and a lot to do to advance true equality of opportunities for one and all.
Cornish maid, that's a proper Cornish phrase, isn't it there? From your dad, did you say that was?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Get that one completely. So Cornwall Fire and Rescue do a lot more than just put the Pride colours on their social media. What action and support do you deliver across the service?
Yeah, we're and it's been a journey for us as well. It really has. But we are now in a position where we're within our own service, joining more support groups. That's for our own internal staff. We're getting more involved with Cornwall Council's LGBT network. We're also involved nationally as well with sessions around improving. A lot of it is internal equality for LGBT people that work in fire services. But also as well, we are really trying to demonstrate to our Cornish communities that the fire service is an inclusive place to work, and also really hoping that people can kind of engage with us and know that if we're not delivering the service in the way that they would like it, and they're not able to access our services, because of maybe their fear of discrimination, that isn't who we are, and we're trying to get that positive promotion of our service out to the communities. And just to ensure that they know that we're inclusive of everyone.
Well, interesting, Kathryn. Actually, the fire service is a service and doesn't generate a revenue from its example of celebrating and recognising Pride through the likes of merchandise and stuff, like the business world does, and a lot of context around people or groups say something like rainbow washing. What's the actual benefits for the service and the highlight of the support of the community that you do?
For us, our community are right at the heart of exactly who we are. If we, that's our job is to serve our community. Whilst it's our job, we don't see it in that way. When people usually call us, it's because they're really probably in a difficult time. So it's really important for us to use Pride and to use the rainbow to just demonstrate to people that that we are there for one and all. We are there for everybody. It doesn't matter kind of who you are, what your background is, what your beliefs are, what your sexual orientation is, what your gender is. Please call us because we're there for you. For us, it isn't about the commercial side of it. It really is about the community engagement side. And, if it wasn't for the community, we certainly wouldn't exist. The other thing as well is that we recruit from our community. So, we want a really good, diverse group of people joining us, because if we got a diverse team, then that makes our team really strong and really resilient, because diversity of thought, diversity of understanding makes you stronger for sure.
Some very powerful words there. To extend on this as well, we could arguably say that Cornwall Fire and Rescue truly lead the way with representation and support. Why is it important to do this, and obviously to influence others in the way that you do?
Yeah, we absolutely pride ourselves, really on the way in which we try to lead and drive inclusion. It is important because we are a really well respected service, and for us to be demonstrating the right values, for us to be role modeling the right behaviours, and it's not about just doing it for doing its sake. It's truly what we believe in. We really do believe that that we should be inclusive, that there should be equality of opportunity, that we should be, really reducing that inequality gap that we see quite a lot within Cornwall, as well as nationally and internationally. So for us as a service, it's important for us as a public service to use our respect that we have from the public, to use our status to really ensure that we're leading the way, because we really are passionate about inclusion and improving that for everybody.
I think you need that kind of passion, don't you, to be able to we talked about this earlier, that passion is what helps you drive and keep going and making that difference. So going to mental health.
It's hard work. It's hard work sometimes, isn't it? It's really hard. You kind of, to keep driving and championing things, sometimes you get tired, and you really need that passion to keep you going. I mean, goodness me, Matthew, you certainly got a lot of passion to keep going. I mean, goodness me.
He's having a little giggle here now. So if we go to mental health, obviously for the last year it's been absolutely tough for mental well-being across many different communities. The rescue service is on the front line of this. How important do you feel it is to get out there and start socialising safely?
No, and it's twofold for us. We've seen an increase in the types of incidents that we attend. We are really seeing mental health incidents increase across our communities, and we've also seen it within our own service. People, really having a decrease in their mental health. And really, we, at the end of the day, we are our communities, and we're kind of feeling that as well through that lack of social interaction. And I can only describe that most recently we've been able ourselves to meet up and have exercises together. So we've been down practicing ship firefighting down at Falmouth, where it's about 60 firefighters that attended to practice their training. But my goodness, it was just incredible to meet up with people and to see them and to interact with them. It was quite, it's almost quite daunting to address 60 people in an appliance bay that was very well ventilated, and we all did social distancing and it's all appropriate. But, I talked to kind of 200 people a day on a virtual environment, but to see them, it was a little bit like, oh, goodness.
Well,
but it is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we talk about events and Pride events you've attended, what would you say are the highlights for you?
Oh, I mean, goodness, how long have we got? Just it's just what I love about what we have within Cornwall is that real kind of family community vibe. It was brilliant in Truro, but what I love about Newquay is just that real kind of that close-knit as you kind of come out and go through the streets of Newquay. And then when you get into kind of the park, it's just that real festival celebratory family vibe. It's just phenomenal, and just seeing people that feel really safe to express how they are and who they are. It's just something that I just don't think you see anywhere apart from Pride events. It's I wish every day could be like a Cornwall Pride event day.
I think I know what you mean. I'm lucky enough to have a friendship group where we're not all, we're all very different in many ways. We've got transgender people, we've got gay, lesbian, all over the shop, and it's so lovely that in our friendship group, none of that so much matters to each other except for being positive about it, and everyone just gets on. And it's when I'm with that friendship group, I just feel I wish the rest of the world was like this. It would be absolutely lovely. I feel like that at Chaos as well, which is really lovely. So Cornwall Fire Service, I think, literally drove around half of Cornwall last year in our very well received Cornwall Pride Unleashed. Are you looking forward to the bus tour this year?
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're hoping to do is where we've got our hold time stations around the little stops is to kind of celebrate individually. So get more people, more of our firefighters, more of our teams involved as the tour goes around Cornwall once again. So yeah, it was. Yeah, and the crew that were involved last year loved every second of it. But like we said, we're looking forward this year to getting a lot more of our crews, a lot more of our teams involved at the bespoke venues that are out with the schedule. So I was quite excited to see that.
Brilliant. I believe the service has had, and in many parts still has, a masculine demeanour. How has the culture changed through supporting Pride, and other initiatives started to change this?
Yeah, I can remember, goodness, when we first did and I can remember the senior officer at the time who was kind of taking us to Pride, and it really was that first year was the crew were really uncomfortable because again, of their own perceptions, they didn't really know what the expectations of them were at the event. They didn't know what to expect at the event. And I think they probably had their preconceived ideas of what a Pride event was. And just really that's evolved over time. But what's been good is being able to have those open conversations with people, because sometimes it's really, and even crews have said, I was really afraid that, all the gay men would fancy me. And I think it was a gay man that turned around, that they were having this open conversation, and the gay man turned around and said, mate, you're good looking and all that, but don't blow your own trumpet there, because you're not everyone's cup of tea. And it was quite funny, because it was that penny drop moment that that actually same-sex kind of love and same-sex attraction is exactly the same for heterosexual attraction, that you don't just fancy everybody, because that's just not the way it is. Exactly. And you don't just kind of fall in love with everybody. It's just, it's just not as binary as that. So again, our crews have really evolved their understanding, and actually over the years have almost been saying, kind of, Kath, what we're doing for the next Pride. I've got an idea for Pride, because for us now, it's just an incredible opportunity to engage with so many people on a large scale, and to demonstrate our support for Pride. So, goodness, our crews and our way of thinking has massively evolved over time, and the level of interaction that we're now able to have has certainly grown over time as well.
I think from can't speak for everyone within the community, but especially from working as an organiser of Cornwall Pride, I can just only say a massive thank you to Cornwall Fire and Rescue, and for everything that you've done. It's just been absolutely incredible. And the last time you were on Chaos, you weren't the chief fire officer, and now you are. So you're in your new role. What's the transition been like, and what do you do now?
Go to a lot more meetings. Although we just said G7. I mean, goodness me, what can I say about that one? The transition's been quite smooth. I mean, I'm really lucky to have kind of gone up through the ranks within the service. So it's not like I've had to get to know a new service, which has been good. It feels like quite a bit more responsibility, but it also feels like I've got a huge amount of freedom as well, and a real opportunity to kind of to create my vision around my passion for inclusion. You know, obviously it's about providing an operational response and an emergency response, but I really want to, you know, drive that forward in the context of inclusion and ensuring that is right at the heart of our service as we move forward. That's for our people inside our service, but also for our communities for sure. So it's the transition's been exciting, daunting, but yeah, I think I'm getting into my stride now for sure.
Well, and absolutely from this weekend at the G7 and the support that you delivered, it's just been, and as a service, has been incredible. Lastly, it is 2021, and we kind of, obviously with the support of Unleash, but ultimately we weren't able to have face-to-face events last year. What's your plans for inclusion this year in 2021?
We're now, we're still in those final stages of releasing lockdown, which is you know, I think scuppered a lot of people really, and including ourselves from that ability to really get out and about in our communities. But we are putting on a few of our virtual open days. Weybridge have got a virtual open day this Saturday. We're really looking forward to Pride Unleashed, and then throughout the summer we are hopefully going to get out some of our open days. And of course, we cannot talk about community engagement without talking about Cornwall Pride. Fingers crossed in August, because that is certainly something that I know and we all look forward to. So planning for the big event will certainly be at the forefront of our minds for sure.
Yeah, it's just over 2 months away. It's kind of like the organising stage of it is going, oh my goodness. Kathryn, thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to seeing you on the bus tour and for Cornwall Pride.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You've been watching Cornwall Pride with PLUSS Positive People. A massive thank you to Sophie from Queer Kernow and the Queer Kernow team, and from Kathryn Billing, CFO for Cornwall Fire and Rescue. You know, we've said this a few times over all of our shows, but if you're genuinely affected by any of the conversations, or you're having a challenging time, you can directly message into the Cornwall Pride page, and we can point you to the best people, or you can get in contact with the Chaos team. Massive thank you to the Chaos Group, and for Pudge joining us today. Hello.
Hello. It's more than it's an honour to be here. Thank you very much.
No, not at all.
And I can't help but reiterate what you just said as well. Get in touch. Chaos, Cornwall Pride, either way, get in touch. No one's going to bite. Everyone's going to be here to listen, to help you. From my own experience here with Chaos, I know obviously Matthew here. Please get in contact. They're the best people you can ever get in contact with about nearly anything these days.
Pretty much anything.
Yeah, pretty much anything.
Yeah. So, and if we don't know it, someone else will.
Exactly. We'll know them.
We'll see you next week on Chaos's and Cornwall Pride's Facebook. See you then.